Aloha. So this is an addendum to the last two videos. To take it the step even further, the first I started to see a little trend. Started out with like Alex Jones and Owen Benjamin. Then it went into Max Egan and the We Are Change channel. And you can see how that was like a move from one group of people that was like in, for example purposes, like there's 100,000 people that pay attention to Alex Jones. That's more than this. But for example, there's like 100,000 people or 1,000,000 people. That's a lot of people that pay attention to Alex Jones and Owen Benjamin. And then for people who pay a little bit more attention to what's going on, they're not consumed by the celebrityism and the big stories like some people are consumed by the mainstream media. They always talk about Trump and all that other distracted bullshit. There's the other channels like We Are Change and Max Egan and the smaller channels. They have like maybe 500,000 people pay attention to them, or 250,000 people that pay attention to them. Once you get from that space, now you're getting into more complex versions of distraction, but they still represent the same thing. So some people who, in the comment section of the last video, are still getting consumed by like, oh well, you're just saying all white truthers are like, nah, stop being emotional. It ain't that. No, there were some points that were very specific. Not all of it was generalized, and not all of it is intended to be generalized. It's intended to speak about the generalized truth that is approved by so-called white people, while other truth that challenges the readily acceptable truth, that truth is almost non-existent in the so-called truther community. So the informations that are at like the core issues that I speak of on this channel are taboo to even mention. Like they're so taboo to even mention on other channels that if you say it, you're attacked. You're called a racist, you're called this, you're called that. Yet these institutions, like institutionalized racism in the colonial mind control program, are some of the biggest mechanisms of controlling the masses around the world. So that's a truth that is taboo in the truther community. So that's why I said in these layers of distraction that get put up there, like the mainstream media, then down to TYT, then down to Alex Jones and Joe Rogan, then down to Owen Benjamin, then down to We Are Change, and then Max Egan and Mark Dice and all these people are talking, David Icke and all these other people are talking about. Now you're starting to get into like the fringe storylines that also still share the same motives as those other channels. So you move, this is why it's kind of like a gauntlet. You move from one area into another area thinking you're escaping or getting away from that other area, but you're actually getting into another trap. This happened to me when I got out of the Occupy movement and walked straight into the New Age agenda. And I was in there studying all that because I knew I was moving out of the psychological warfare awareness, because the physical warfare was obvious. 9/11, inside job, boom, 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 war, Gulf of Tonkin, that's obvious. Physical warfare, I was a soldier. I know about people being so dumbed down that they will join the military and go fight a war for a criminal system. I am aware of that mind control. That's what I'm calling the physical warfare. Once you get out of that, you can start to approach the system from seeing the psychological warfare that attacks us. It's ingrained in the physical warfare, but it's more complex than that. That's when I started to jump into the Occupy protests and just started protesting and thinking like, oh yeah, we're all one, everything's cool, we need to just fight the government. Like the government is this very generalized sort of just entity that exists and is run by, you know, reptilian holographic shapeshifters that are eating babies and shit like that. Like it becomes a fucking game. So the psychological warfare becomes some like cartoon movie, and you become some like superhero character in it. But is it that? No, it's deeper than that. Well, what is it? Well, then you start getting into the spiritual warfare. So what happens is the system doesn't want to get you to go into the physical or the psychological warfare and the spiritual warfare, because in order to maintain slavery on every level, you have to be locked in to the materialistic version of reality. Because as long as you are afraid of or are limited to the physical materialistic reality, fear of losing the materialistic reality will keep you from expanding your knowledge and your consciousness. So this is why there's so much physical, like the food, the reproduction of babies, the materials of transhumanism, but specifically technology, the physical nature of technology. This is all stuff that traps you here in this world and wants to make you love this world and cherish this world and think that this world is more important than your soul. In fact, your soul doesn't even matter. You don't even have a soul. You're just a cosmic piece of dog shit that was shat out of the Big Bang, and now you just have to work for, McDonald's or something like that, Walmart. And then that's your life. Your soul came here to do that. And you're hopeless because you can't do anything other than that, because this is about evolution. The consciousness of your reality is about evolving evolution. And if your evolution has led you up to this point, and the evolution is all about power and technology and money and war, then you're hopeless. You have nothing to do other than to be submissive to the so-called powers that be, that have by God evolved themselves to be more powerful than you. So that's where the system wants you to be. So hopeless that you are in a space of powerlessness and you can't really do anything. In fact, you can't even think about doing anything. In fact, if you start thinking about doing anything, you will be labeled as a terrorist. So people are even afraid of thinking. That fear is anchored in the core of having your power be anchored in the physical reality. And the best of your power now has to go through the bridge of the psychological reality. So now people who escape the physical reality or the physical mind control trap within the physical reality, now they get into the psychological warfare and they think they got it all. So they think that protesting against the system that promotes the physical worshipping, they think that's the end of it. They think that's it. Oh, we should just come together and unify and protest against the powers that be. But where's your power at? You're saying that they have power, but what is your power? See, that's where you get in. You have to go into the spiritual warfare. People who are consumed by the materialistic colonial world and still subconsciously, in many ways, consciously trying to protect that world, they will never entertain the higher space of going into where your true power lies. They won't go there. Because once you shift from the psychological warfare to the spiritual warfare, and as far as awareness, that's when you're getting into a space of disassembling the macro storyline. And you can only do that. You can only get the tools. You're only going to be able to equip to do that if at first you have the power cells to do that. It's like trying to walk up to a key. If you don't have the fucking key, walk up to a lock without the key. You don't have the key, you got a wrong key. You walking up to a PhD lock with a play school key. You can't open up a fucking PhD lock with a play school key. So you have these truthers who are walking around with their play school keys, proud of their play school white truth key ring, because that play school key ring has been put out there on a pedestal against the plastic styrofoam keys that are out there. And people are like, yeah, let's unify around not having styrofoam keys anymore. Like, what? That's it? That's what you want to unify around? Not being shit? That's not something to unify around. Not being pieces of shit is not something to unify around. You need to wake the fuck up and see what you're actually saying when you talk about this unify and we're all one and all this other bullshit. So that's where we are now. We're at this video. the next form of mind control that I'm saying, when you get out of that space of thinking you're thinking for yourself, and now you're thinking for the soul self, now thinking that you're in the new age consciousness. So this is where you get into people like Seven Bomar and Infinite Waters and what's his name, Ralph Smart and Teal Swan and Eckhart Tolle and Deepak Chopra and the Oprah Super Soul Sunday network that's got Tony Robbins on there talking about how you can make it in the system. See, that's what it is. Most of them are talking about how you can make it in the system, and the other ones are talking about how you can make it by avoiding the system. So this is why it's all powerless, because it's leaving out the requirement to address the macro. The micro cannot be the micro without at first addressing the macro. This is like trying to think that you can be superhuman or super powerful at when the world is attacking you at the same moment. You can't meditate. You can't be in that space. And if you do get in that space, your other brothers and sisters are still fucked. So you're not really free, because you're not free until everybody else is free. This is a fact. So the new age is just out there saying that, oh yeah, we can be free even though other people are free. See, are not free. That's the separation. That's the separation between the people who haven't left their roots. The roots are part of your spiritual journey. See, the new agers want to cast them aside as if there's some kind of, like, the physical realm and all that stuff is just some sort of they can just say, oh yeah, that's not me. It's like, no, it's more complex. It's more challenging to figure out why all of the parts of you, not some of them, not just your spirit and what you feel is nice and what you want to study, sacred geometry and crystals and sage and clearing your chakras and balancing your energy and all that shit. Like, yeah, that's fucking wonderful, but what else is there? Is that it? Is there not a fucking empire that's attacking you at the same time? You think meditation and crystals are going to fix everything, as there is an entire empire attacking all your brothers and sisters? Keep thinking that. So what you're looking at right now is Seven Bomar and his whole piece and, understanding inner standings and all that other stuff. Same way with like Ralph Smart. Just breathe the infinite waters in and breathing in all that good ass prana. Just breathe the good ass prana. Breathe that white supremacy out of your reality. You just hope that, just focus all your attention on this, and then that other stuff won't matter anymore. And that's where the New Age community basically is. So I wanted to share this to compare next to the other distractions that I referenced in the last two videos. So you had Owen Benjamin putting out his, just grow food and build a farm and take care of your white family, and everything else will fix itself. And then you have the We Are Change people that are saying, just protest the system, and literally saying like, hope that it gets better, and then that's it. And then like you ask the power. That's what he said in the last video. You're asking them to not push 5G onto us. And that's the thing. I'm glad I remember this. With those middlemen truthers out there, the white truth that's out there, like white lies. With those middlemen like the We Are Change and Alex Jones and Owen Benjamin, what they're doing is that when they put that information out there, they're telling you that. Shit, let me come back to that, because I wanted to. So the New Age truth that's out there is out there to do the same thing that We Are Change and all that other stuff is doing. Is making you focus on a particular story to steal your time. Now, this is not saying that the individuals are knowingly stealing your time. This is just to say that the system that knows that the most important thing is to steal your time. The system behind all the platforms that these truthers are on, the manipulators of the algorithms of the platform that these truthers are on, they are well aware that time is the most important thing. So the way you use your time is allowing that system to stay afloat. So if you are using your time to only talk about the stories that they have put out there to distract yourself with, then you will be doing the work that they need you to do to allow them to stay in power. So one way they do that is to distract you with different layers of stories that have different layers of consciousness that will attract different layers of people. And overall, the time will slowly deteriorate. So one thing they do is they say, well, this is the stuff you need to focus on, and this is the stuff you don't need to focus on. So focus on this stuff. Focus on protesting the system. Focus on changing the system. So that's the middleman psychological warfare thing. You can see in that last video he said, Max Egan is in Australia, and he was a part of almost kinda, what did he say? Really? Almost? Kinda actual? Like kinda almost? Whatever the words he used, it was in reference to not really stopping 5G, but just kinda stopping 5G. So that's the system that Neely Fuller was referencing when he's talking about the space of, starts with an R, damn it, not reconstruction, refinement. So this the consciousness of refinement. So constantly fixing itself, constantly appearing to be better, constantly appearing to be changing. That is the heart of the psychological warfare. That is what keeps the people from realizing that the so-called powers that be are manipulating the storylines to maintain the consciousness of refinement. These people on YouTube that are calling themselves truthers, like the white truthers that I referenced, like I said, white is a mindset before it's anything else. The people that are calling, because it's not sure as hell ain't a fucking people. Where the fuck is Whiteville? Where is White Stonia? Where is White Sylvania? Where is where, you know what I'm saying? Where the fuck is this place? That's the thing that I'm talking about, that these so-called, that's why I keep using that word, to force these motherfuckers to stop being lazy, to face the fucking truth. That white privilege ain't got shit to do with jobs. It got to do with you accepting the fact that you get power just from the word. You get privilege just from the word. And you don't know how a life outside of that power. So much so, you don't even know what to fucking call yourself. Because the only reference that you have to call yourself is what the so-called powers that be told you to fucking call yourself. They said, bitch, you're white. That's it. That's all you need to know. You're white, and you get this, this, and this from being white. You got any questions? You got any challenges against that? And you said, no, sir, I like it. Because I sure as hell don't want to be like those black motherfuckers. I ain't going to be like them because they don't get shit. In fact, they're getting killed. So yeah, I'm white. So that's where we are right now. You got a bunch of white motherfuckers that are out there talking about, you're racist. But the way they fucking label themselves is inherently racist. It's in here. So they don't want to get out of that discussion. They label themselves with a term that was invented by the people who invented racism, white supremacy. They still call themselves white. And they're uncomfortable with that shit. So what they have to do is to distract you with all these other stories about how the rest of the world, the Jews, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, all the chemtrails, they got to tell you the rest of the world is so fucking horrible and dangerous and dreadful, and everybody else is. What about the Irish slaves? What about the Muslims who enslaved these people? What about these people who have done this thing? All that that's their main response. All that to distract from the actual discussion. All of that. And why I'm saying is that the space of refinement. That's why I said Neely Fuller Jr. He talked about this. Google that, YouTube that, whatever his name, if you hadn't known about it. I shared a lot of the videos that are on this channel with the cartoons. Carlito Way 44, his YouTube channel, he did a lot of those. He's got a lot of Neely Fuller Jr. information on there. Check that out. But he goes into the space of refinement that so-called white supremacy wants to keep, that consciousness wants to keep people at. That feeling of always changing, always evolving, always getting better, always, that's what a black president is. Obama, he was there to make you think that's what, especially after he looks more black after George Bush. He don't look that black after Bill Clinton. But after George Bush, Obama looks like fucking Wesley Snipes. That's how black he looks. So this is what happened with the whole system. They have layers of consciousness that are meant to be traps. The traps that are out there are to keep you in your own level of refinement, thinking that you're constantly evolving and changing, but you're really just evolving the consciousness within the trap itself. So we are changed. This is why I said. That's why I emphasized those two words when he was talking about almost changed, stopped 5G, is because that's what the system wants you to do. It wants you to fight the system. It wants you to fight it and almost change shit. Because in your fighting, you're going to fight their storyline into the next agenda. You're going to ask the questions that they need you to ask that will bring about the legislature to push their agenda even further. So they wouldn't be able to do that unless you appeared to be fighting it at the same time. So what happens is they create this false fight, this fake fight out there. With people like We Are Change, TOIT, Donald Trump is the main one out there to make it look like there's some kind of good guys and bad guys out there. It's all bullshit. It's to distract you. And the internet ain't no different. So that's what steals the time. As long as they're stealing your time, it don't fucking matter what the subjects are. They got you by the fucking balls. So people like We Are Change don't see this because they are consumed by thinking that they're the fucking superheroes of the world within their level of consciousness. So they constantly interview these midstream people like Mark Dice, Max Egan, Owen Benjamin, Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, all these fucking white people, all these people who are going to tell them in a very intellectual way how what they are talking about is correct. And then people who are watching that on the internet are also going to say, well, that makes sense. That's correct. And it's coming from a white person, so I trust it. Let's go on to the next subject. We are truthers. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. So you have this level of refinement that is being instigated constantly through this truther community. And the next level of that is to, once you get to the truth that they're selling, because right now they're selling you truth with lies. And so you're not really getting any truth. You're just getting a lot of exposed lies. So what's happening is when they run out of exposed lies, at the right timing, at the particular time that they need to get the most people, they will start to sell you, no longer selling you lies, they will start to sell you what people like Seven Bomar, Teal Swan, Oprah Winfrey, Ralph Smart, and all these other New Agers, they will start to sell you white lies or white truth. So white truth is the New Age truth. So the white lies is all this stuff that they call truth. That's actually like I was like, oh yeah, they lied to us, but you know, this is the truth about it. So that's the white lies. But right now, or coming into the future, they're gonna start selling some new age white truth. And that new age white truth is also going to be doing the same thing that flat earthers did to the other truth. They fucking dumped all their shit about the ancestors. They didn't give a fuck about the symbols and the ancestors. All they did was use that it's flat versus globe. Fuck the ancestors, fuck the symbols, fuck the people, fuck the story. Just use them like they use everybody else for the flat earth storyline. And don't go any further. And just use your white supremacist sponsored, what is that? Push the sort of like you can punk everybody. Like this is what Mark and Patricia were doing. Oh, let's just keep it on. Then they do it. This niceties is what's killing the world. Let's just keep flat Earth on the story. We got to keep it on the mission on flat versus globe. It's flat and that's that. That's the niceties that are destroying the world. This is why I'm focusing on this. This ain't coming from an emotional cheap ass like hatred or anything like that. It's way more complex than that. It's going into a space of realizing that there's an intelligence behind the ignorance that's amplified over the fucking internet, especially in the truther community. This is why it's so fucking obvious. It's so somebody else in the comment section said, I can't wait for one of these truther channels to say something about something as obvious as Black Wall Street. They won't even say anything about Tulsa. They won't say anything about Black Wall Street. They won't mention one fucking word about Black Wall Street. Because when you go in that, you start going into the psychology of white supremacy. Will they do that? Fuck no. They won't. Because the only truth that benefits their system is the truth that avoids the core issues. So right now, we're in a space of everybody's unveiling the lies. There's no real truth out there yet. On the whole, they're still unveiling the micro lies and really not challenging themselves to get into the macro lies or the truth. They don't know that yet. So what I'm trying to do with my channel is help people see that that's not happening. Like, it's not going on. They're just running in circles. You got truther circles running in circles. That's actually what a truther community is. Just run in circles talking about how you have the truth. And never really expand the conversation. So reason why I'm doing that, another reason why I'm doing that is because people are walking into fucking traps. And I want to help people to not walk into these fucking traps because I walked into these traps before. And people are trying to instigate the situation to help people walk into traps by saying, oh yeah, you're just doing this. No, get your emotional, simple ass out the way for a moment and analyze what the hell we're talking about. These motherfuckers are out there in the new age community talking about, we have secret energy. There's secret this and secret that. And then I'm not saying that there isn't information that is kept a secret and kept away from us that pertains to our actual experience, our micro system. I'm not saying that everybody in the new age community is wrong. What I'm saying is that the new age community is being used like Joe Rogan and Alex fucking Jones. The whole community. And just because it hasn't been activated by the mainstream media yet completely, people think that it's not happening yet. Watch, just like Flat Earth happened 3 years later, when I was talking about this shit 3 years ago, the New Age community is about to happen. It ain't going to take 3 years for them to activate that shit. It's going to be here coming up very soon. And then you're going to have, just like you had Mark and Patricia out there on Netflix, and they made a fun of their asses, made them look like fucking dumbasses. Now you're going to have Teal Swan, Ralph Smart, and probably Seven Bomar on another fucking Netflix special, them being made fun of because they're getting ready to talk shit about the New Age community only to bring about the New Age agenda. The same way they talk shit about Flat Earth, only to bring about the truth with Flat Earth later on, along with the New Age agenda. It's already been laid out. I've been talking about this shit for years now. The players are already on the board. They just haven't been activated. And the simple-minded ass people, the sheep that are just running around talking about, man, well, you're racist, you're this, you're that. You should just, basically saying you should just listen, don't think, don't talk about nothing, don't ask any questions, don't share your story, don't do anything. They're just bad, you know, follow the Bible, bad, yell at Trump, bad, oh, let's listen to Owen Benjamin, you're racist, bad. They're just on and on and on and on and on. No fucking critical thought cells in their whole body at all. Meanwhile, while they are talking shit to other people who are sharing information, the system is still stealing time. That's the whole point. I'm saying, and obviously one can argue that I'm, you know, like, yeah, you're stealing time because you're talking about other people, other channels too. I'm bringing this shit to the surface so it doesn't happen anymore. The intention is not to distract you like these other fuckers. They're either doing it consciously or subconsciously. They're either knowingly distracting you because they need that money, they need subscribers, they need your time, or they're unknowingly doing it. And they have good intentions, but they still have the same fucking effect on you. What the fuck is the difference? Like I said, the time that gets stolen by the system is what fucking matters, not the distractive shit.